Well, that was certainly a pay-per-view. Thankfully, it was only 2.5 hours. Anyway, I got some thoughts and some fantasy books, so let's take it over to the action figures. The pre-show kicks off with an unannounced match between Kevin Owens and Don't Call Him Buddy Murphy. Frankly, this match shouldn't have happened at all, but the good news is we got to see Kevin Owens go completely off. The New Day are getting interviewed backstage when they bring out their mentor for tables matches, Devon Dudley. He gives them the advice of, put your opponent through a table, and then we go to the ring. After a really competitive tables match with a bunch of false finishes, your new champions are Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura. I don't have a Cesaro, but check out that sweet old school SmackDown tag team title that Shinsuke's holding up. Alexa Bliss is backstage with Asuka and Kairi Sane. They're trying to hype up Nikki Cross for her match against Bayley. I do like Kairi's line where she says, even if you lose, we'll still be your friends. I don't have a Kairi Sane figure, and I don't plan on getting one just because the rumor is that she's going back to Japan. But moving forward, I would like to see Asuka team with Io Shirai, who I also don't have a figure for. The match itself is pretty decent. I didn't necessarily like the wonky finish, but it was designed to protect Nikki, so I'll forgive it. Moving forward, I've fantasy booked a couple of times how both of these tag teams are going to end up breaking up at some point, and I'm definitely more interested in the Bayley-Sasha breakup. I've been thinking about getting an Apollo Crews figure, but Bobby Lashley and MVP are on the list of Optimus. That's action figures I don't ever plan on getting. At best, I'll take them if somebody gives them to me for free. Anyway, this match that never happened because it was forfeited, I'm not going to do a picture for it. The eye for an eye match. I don't really have any fantasy book for this. I just wouldn't have done it. I would have done maybe a hardcore match and just let them be really pissed at each other. I would have also liked to include Dominic in some way, since they've been teasing him this whole time. If you were going to do this stipulation, then at least just cut to the end so we can all see the eyeball and then actually show something. If you're going to advertise gore, show us the gore. In our second women's match of the night, we have Asuka defending the Raw Women's Championship against Sasha with Bayley on the outside. Another wonky finish just like earlier, to the point where we don't even really know who is the champion right now. Fantasy book, although I don't like how they did it, I did predict that Sasha should get this belt so that her and Bayley have all the belts. Now you just need to book Asuka as a super babyface to serve as the savior of the women's division. The last actual match of the evening, we have Drew McIntyre defending his WWE Championship against Dolph Ziggler. Dolph reveals at the start of the match that the stipulation is going to be only he can break all the rules. That did add some intrigue since Dolph really didn't have any credibility beating Drew anyway. There was a decent backstory here with how Drew came up to the main roster. But I'm glad to see the feud end and him move on to the next challenger. And finally, here it is, the swamp fight. So, we open with Braun coming up to Bray in a chair. Bray then disappears and Braun throws the chair at a sign. Braun wanders into the woods where he fights a couple of henchmen and then is attacked by his old persona in the black sheep mask, who hits him with a shovel. Braun wakes up, tied with chains to a chair, and in comes Bray with his old music. He gives a lengthy and rambling promo, when suddenly a veiled woman comes into the scene holding a snake I believe is supposed to symbolize Randy Orton. The snake bites Braun, and we cut to the next scene. Back in the woods, Braun literally lights a guy on fire before he suddenly hears a female voice in the distance. And who is it? None other than Alexa Bliss playing Sister Abigail. She calls back to the Mixed Match Challenge as Team Little Big and implies that Braun has always had a crush on her. Honestly, I would fantasy book this angle all day. I always wanted to see these two together in some way, shape, or form, and I really wish they would have done. Bray appears and Braun chokeslams him into a boat, which magically wanders off into the swamp before coming back without Bray in it. They fight in the water, then they fight on a dock, and then Braun kicks Bray through a fence into the water. Bray appears not to resurface, and the watermark even appears in the lower right corner of the screen, but then suddenly Bray comes out of the water, pulls Braun in, and we have silence for a few seconds before the water starts to bubble and turn red. Then slowly the Fiend comes out of the water laughing. The only fantasy book I got is that I want to see the Fiend versus the Demon Finn Balor. Give it to me now, give it to me for a title or not, give it to me at WrestleMania, I don't care, just give it to me. That'll do it for my action figure review. I am trying to get this channel just up and running, so definitely like, share, and subscribe to help me out. Otherwise, have a great night, and I'll see you tomorrow for Dark.